So it is my pleasure to be joined by Danial Williams ahead of One Fight Night 15 and your fight against Jonathan DeBella for the one strawweight kickboxing world championship. Before we get into that quick, I want to touch on a fight between two guys that just happened, two guys that you know very well, of course, Rodtang and Superlek. I was going to have to ask you about this, man.
Oh, cool.
How did you feel about the fight? Did it go how you expected at all?
Yeah, first thanks for having me on, Kyle. I that fight was awesome. Like holy shit, that lived up to expectation, if not exceeded it, because even part like with the weight missing and all of that, I thought like, is this gonna be like a sparring match? They respect each other too much, but it's like, no, man, there was a lot on the line for both of them. And when I felt like we just seen two guys in the stadium where they're well respected, like two guys that have been fighting since they were 6 or 7 years old, fighting for their families, and like just seeing that type of martial artists, two of them fight each other was insane. So it lived up to expectation, and the number one winner there was the fans, man. The fans won that fight for sure, and it just done a lot for the sport of Muay Thai.
Were you surprised at all in the build up to that fight? There was a lot of talk about Rod Tang's commitment in the last few fights, and people will reference his kind of some of his earlier fights in one championship, including the fight against yourself, where it seemed like he had a run of just classic fights. And he really brought it and rose to the occasion, I think, on Friday. Like, what was your take on some of that stuff leading up to the fight on Friday?
Yeah, that was the big question. How hard was has he been training? He's lived a life as a superstar, come from nothing, and now he's just an absolute mega star, and he's got finances to just live a little bit more comfortable. Is he putting in the hard yards? So that was a big question that I was even interested in, like how hard has he been training? Because I felt Super Leg obviously being a lot more active previously, like he might be in the better condition because Rod Tang, who knows, like if he was in condition. But yeah, he is definitely in condition, man. You can tell by his body shape, he's been training hard or not, because I that's usually how, like, for instance, when he fought Haggerty, like his first title shot, he looked trimmed and he just came forward. And then you see some other fights, like even myself, he's a little bit more pumpy. Like you just see other fights where he didn't have that tenacity, but he still wins. He's still Rod Tang. But the fight with Super, like it looked like he trained a lot, and then coming out, I knew, I was like, okay, yeah, he's in shape, so he definitely wants this fight.
Yeah, to completely flip the conversation from going about lack of motivation to talking about your fight with the Bella, which I've seen you describe as do or die. Does this fight, you've had some big fights? I mean, we just spoke about Rodtang and Superlek. Does this one feel like there's more at stake than before? I know that obviously there is a world championship on the line, but you've fought for world championships before. Does this one feel bigger to you?
Honestly, I think every fight for me is do or die, hey, because I really try to take that approach of like, this could be your last fight. So embrace the fight, Cam. Like you literally, like you could be dead tomorrow. So for me, it always is do or die, because that's it's just how I lift myself up in training. Because it's true, man. I've seen fighters like everything's going well, and then all of a sudden they're not fighting again. So for me, this is a massive fight. I'm putting it on that pedestal where it is do or die, because it could be my last one. Like obviously I don't. Hopefully it's not, but yeah, it's just the mentality I'm bringing into this fight.
I think the fight against Superlek really kind of did a good job of kind of summing up why the fans of one championship love watching you fight and stuff like that, to the point where when Superlek missed weight, it didn't take long before I was already seeing posts about if Daniel Williams didn't have a fight, he'd be putting his name in there. Like it's become part of your identity as a fighter, right? To be the guy that picks up
Yeah.
the phone and says yes. But with this fight and having a full camp to prepare for it and things like that and a title on the line, does it feel like this is your big opportunity to prove that you belong at the top and you're not just the guy that will say yes when no one else will?
Yeah, of course, man. Like I pride myself in being a martial artist, a true martial artist. So taking the road less traveled has literally been my career path, doing the different sports, different weights. But right now with this notice, the mindset's very strong because I've had a lot of time to hone in the skills and understand my opponent and understand myself. So there's nothing to fall back on. So yeah, man, this is it. This is for me to show that I am where I should be and I am a world champion. So this is a good opportunity for that.
You said about having the time then to study your opponent. Obviously, it's been a while now since we've seen Jonathan DeBella. What did you make of his debut in one championship against Zhang Peimian? Which, I mean, speaking of great fights, that was another one of them from last year. But you only have that one fight of him in one championship to study from, whereas in on the flip side of that, he's got so much catalog to study from you. So what were you able to kind of take from that?
Yeah. So yeah, not too much footage of him, but for him to step in, fight for the world title in one fight and display the skills he did, like it was impressive. So it's put a kick in my training camp because I know I'm up against someone who's built for it, and he's only going to be better than the last one. You know, most people, like all martial artists, are that when they get into one, they usually fight better the next fight, and yeah, so I just feel like he's going to be a better fighter this time, and yeah, what I learned mostly from that fight is that he does get better as the fight goes on. So he is a tough fighter. He can take the best shots. Yeah, he's a strong fighter. He can take some big shots.
The final thing I wanted to touch on really quickly, because of course One Fight Night 15 is the main focus and it's a huge fight. But one of the things you mentioned it briefly, then one of the things that I think has also defined your run in one championship, like you said, is the ability to compete in different rule sets, all at a high level. Like I remember, I believe it was earlier this year where you spoke about focusing more on striking for the time being, but how what are the difficulties that come with balancing those things and going in between them, and where do you kind of see that playing out for the next year or so? Like, do you plan on returning to MMA later on, like within the next year?
Yeah, good questions because it's been very challenging trying to do all three sports. Like I said before, that I take the road less traveled being a martial artist. I'm going to keep doing that. It is so hard, man. And what I've learned the last couple of fights is like trying to train all three sports isn't really working for me. You know, it's super challenging. So like this time having a long fight camp, I'm purely focused on kickboxing. You know, all the fights I've been watching in kickboxing. So I feel moving forward and learning from the last couple of fights, I think for me to move forward in each sport is to just stay in the one sport for a while rather than trying to do a MMA fight camp, still training a lot of Muay Thai and kickboxing and vice versa. So that's what I've learned from the last few fights. But I definitely want to stay in this lane, stay in kickboxing for a while, then Muay Thai, then MMA, rather than jumping straight from different sports. But you know, sometimes you get these fight opportunities with different fighters, and I'm here to fight the best, and it might be in different disciplines. So maybe I will still say yes. But I think just for me to really be good in the one area, I need to stay in the one area.
I'm excited to see it, man. Thank you for your time. All the best for fight night, and yeah, good luck, man.
Thanks, Carl. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for the chat.
No problem. Cheers, man. Have a good day.
See you, man.